The next person I would want to speak to is Mr. Robert Lovelle. Rooks, you up?
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
All right. So Robert is an amazing fiction writer. He ex-military like some of us. And wow, your last book, I don't know which book you want to talk about. Is it Filipinas?
I, I feel so, after hearing the other guys talk, it's like, I don't know, but I guess we'll go with that. Sure. Let's do that.
Well, the thing is, even though your books are fiction, you're helping somebody who couldn't tell their story, and you're telling it for them. And these
Yeah.
are important stories, just the same, and they're
Yeah.
inspirational. So we're gonna let you talk about you and who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you. First of all, as always, Erica, thank you for having me on here. I wanted to say one quick thing to each of everybody else first. Koala, I had to write your name down so I can check out your music and your book and see how all that goes together. I know that being a writer doesn't mean that you just write books or blogs or poetry, but it all goes together. Writing is writing, and you've done music and book. I got to check it out. Mr. Kulu, that graphic and that I think that website that Erica put up was amazing. I got to check that out as well. And Ms. Faye, that was really cool how you set those prices for Christmas. I gotta actually start doing that myself. I'll go check out your stuff as soon as we get off here as well. But yeah, she said, what for Christmas? So I figured I'd go with Filipina, not just because it's my last novel, but because I've never met a group of people who start celebrating Christmas so early as a group of people in the Philippines. The Filipinos start celebrating Christmas in September. They call it the Burr months, and that's when they really start getting into Christmas super early. So I figured that's why I would talk about Filipina today. But whatever questions you had, of course.
Well, tell us about the book. Tell us about why you wrote it and what inspired you and how did you get it all done, and definitely about that amazing trip.
Okay, well, I'm trying to keep it short, but yeah, Filipina, it was my sixth novel that I published. I tried to basically everywhere I go, I meet a whole bunch of people, but no more group of people is more great represented than the Filipinos for some reason. Well, I know why the reason, but they're all over the world, being the nurses and the general workforce of so many different countries. So I've met a lot of them, and since I've always been in love with their food, their culture. Sorry.
No, what you've been in love with the food and
culture and the language for a while now. So I actually whenever I ran into them, I like to talk to them, and I started to collect stories from them, whether they were coworkers that I talked to for a while or people I was involved with intimately or whatever. I collected these stories, and that's what turned into this book that's been told from four different fictional characters from different walks of life, different parts of the world, told from the stories of the people that I've actually met that's been through it, to hopefully an audience of people who are interested in it, whether it be for the women's rights aspect or just because of they know someone from the Philippines and they want to know, about that area of the world. These are true stories from them written in a fictionalized fashion. And when I published the book, I actually launched it in the Philippines. In Manila, I flew out there with 2 suitcases full of books to launch it at their largest book fair called the Manila International Book Fair. And I launched it there, sold every book that I had there, and it was a good experience. It's been going pretty well since then.
And it seemed like they really appreciated it. I'm going to pull up the graphic because it seemed like they really appreciated you telling their story. What were some of the accolades and what did you receive?
For sure, I've actually gotten this wasn't the book that I received the reward for. It was my fifth novel, Invasion. But when I got over there, or any book festival or book fair or panel that I've done since Filipina, I've always had Filipinos come to me and ask me, why did I write about them? And these are people who hadn't bought it yet or read the letter from the author, which tells succinctly why I wrote it. Why did you, you're a foreigner, you're not from the Philippines, you're not married to a Filipina, none of that, you're just some guy who happens to write about the Philippines. Why did you do that? And so usually I'll just sit them down and have them read the foreword about the author, or I'll tell them myself. And afterwards, they tell me how much they appreciate it. I've got some video reviews from Filipino women, and they'll tell you, they're mostly in Tagalog, but what they're saying is that it was kind of amazing that someone who was a foreigner wrote about them, and it wasn't some raunchy how to date a Filipino woman or how to come here and get laid kind of book or whatever. It was actually about a little bit of the history, how the Philippines became the Philippines, and the plight, I like to call it the plight of the Filipino woman as pretty much the main provider of the family in the Philippines, whereas, in other countries like ours, stereotypically the male is the leader and the provider for the home, as our stereotypical history goes. Societal norms go. But over there, normally it's the female who would go away for work to send money home to the children, the husband and the parents, extended family and all that. So I tell those stories in depth, and they're coming from the source that's just written through me. And they seem to really enjoy the fact that I did that.
For me, what I compared it to was the Joy Luck Club, because universally as women, there's some underlying things that connect us all. And like you say, it wasn't about how to have sex with them. It's not about how to date them or how to find, a lot of books are written from the aspect, especially for Filipino women and even Asian women too. They might have more book choices, but where these books written about them is all targeting them
as objects of desire or lust or sex, exactly.
Right, and never telling their story. And so that's why I totally love it and relate it to the Joy Luck Club. And when you got this many people sending you reviews, no, it's no small thing. You did a great thing. Is there anything you would change? Like, would you do a part 2 to that, or anything you would change about that experience?
The experience, no. The book itself, probably. There's been so much more that I've learned about the culture that I would love to go back and revisit. Maybe make just make a revised copy of the book with a different cover and some more things that I've learned since then. Even though I've been to the country several times and I've indulged in the culture a lot, I learn something new every time I go back there, and the more I read about it, and all, just like anything else. But as far as writing another book about it, probably not. I like to move on to a different culture that I've experienced and do the same thing. But I definitely would like to add more to this book if I had the time.
I feel like that's what makes, like, for you, me, and cool, makes us the citizen journalist, because you're talking to other people and finding out how do you feel about it, and then bringing the story to light. So I think it's an amazing thing. Did anybody else have any questions about it?
Wanted to comment and just say, Brother Robert, man, you're doing some amazing things. As a writer myself, I enjoy being in that atmosphere while I write. And to hear that you actually went to these places and talked to the actual people, the native people, and did your research before writing about them. It's not every day you hear about African-American men writing about Asia. So I really commend you for doing that, man. That's absolutely awesome, man. Please keep up the great work, and I'm gonna check that book out.
Appreciate that, brother. Thank you.
And also the fact that you did a totally different spin than what everyone else is writing about. Like, you broke the narrative to what is being said, 25 years in the Army, and a lot of stuff you just said, I've never heard. I've never heard. That is not the type of stories that come out when people go visit any of those countries. So, yeah, I see why you're getting a lot of reviews. So, yes.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I love that bow tie, by the way.
Thank
You
you.
know he sells them now. He's Mr. Bowtie. But that's just it. You hit the nail on the head because especially us as ex-military people, it's usually about the scandal that we got into or you know, things like that, or your personal accolades. It's never really, you know, you took the opportunity, which I loved it too. When I got to be in Germany, you want to ask people, so what do you think about this? What do you think about, I mostly asked them how they felt about foreign relations. How do you feel about America? How do you feel about us being here? You know, how do you feel about your government? Like I was more like governmental and life experience, but you were really talking to people to find out who they are and what is this country about and what is life for you. And so you opened up, you know, something special, and it is different and it's groundbreaking that you, as a Black man, did that for them. So don't sell yourself short with that. And we'll talk about some more. You coming up with any new books?
Yeah, there's three, as you know. There's three. The Closure. I'm trying to write Closure right now, and the Disciple of Takeda Gene. But I got to go to Tokyo before I write that one. And Mo and JC. There's two names. I'm playing around with that one. Mo and JC, or Neath Gardens, Which Rivers Flow. I don't know which title to go for that. It's a book that I'm writing about whether if Jesus Christ and Muhammad were to know each other in modern day times.
Wow.
My brief visit to Islam a few years ago, I really started to think about that. I was in Saudi Arabia, and I'm like, I would think that would be pretty epic if we could see how I think they'd interact with one another. I think they'd be pretty cool friends, honestly, if we got rid of all the rumors about who they were as men back when they were alive. You know, how they'd interact and how they interact with people nowadays. Like after I find out exactly who they were, after I read the Quran 10 more times and the Bible and all the studies that but I really want to write that book. That's probably the third one. It's going to take a while. So I've got a lot of reading to do about religion before I actually start on that book. But I've written a prologue for it, and I'm really excited about it. So Closure's next, and hopefully I can get out to Japan if this nonsense ever stops. I can get out of the country again. So we'll see.
That sounds epic. And I think Jesus and Muhammad will both tell everyone else they're taking themselves a little bit too seriously. Like, you don't know what I would have said. Sit down.
Hey man, where'd you get your inspiration from? Where'd you get your inspiration from to even do this?
Wow.
What inspired you? Because these topics are so out of the ordinary
Yes, it is.
the average person probably wouldn't think of that. And I want to commend you for telling the stories of the Filipino women, because unfortunately, some people don't have the voice that they would like, or some people don't have the guts to tell the true story, or maybe their culture just won't allow it to be told. So for you to come in and do that and break ground is an amazing thing. So how'd you get inspired to do that? And you must be pretty smart to be honest, to do all this. Yeah.
And courageous.
Yeah. Where's your inspiration come from? Because this is so out of the ordinary.
Well, Filipina, actually, it's a pretty, it's not as miraculous as one may think. Actually, the reason why I started, I was actually just dating a Filipino woman when I was in Abu Dhabi for a year back in 2014, and I was kind of trying to immerse myself into the Emirati culture. And instead of doing that, I was dating a Filipino woman, and I had a lot of Filipino co-workers there in Abu Dhabi, and they just inundated me with all the details of where they're from. That was actually the first time I went to the Philippines, and I was just like, this is crazy. I made a vlog called "What's an Asian" in 2015. That's what started this whole thing. I was dating a Filipino girl. I made the vlog. It's called "What's an Asian" because I don't really like it when people group together all those countries over there and just call them Asian. The same way I feel about Africa. I mean, I understand that Africa's a continent, and we like to call ourselves African Americans and the people from there Africans, but like there's a lot of different groups of people there that might not all identify with just being from this continent. So like a lot of times I tease my fiance because, you know, I'm pretty certain people like to call her Chinese or Vietnamese when they see her out, because a lot of us Westerners don't know what we're looking at when we talk to them.
They do that with the islands too. They do that with the islands too.
You bet not call a Cuban or Mexican. I bet you that.
Exactly. It's all the same.
You will get your feelings hurt.
Yeah, they do that with the islands. Oh yeah, the islands, big time. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I talked about in that blog. I wish that we as Westerners, since we're so, renowned for being ignorant about the rest of the world, that we would take the time to learn to differentiate who we're talking to. At least not group them all together as, the people who look like, you see somebody who's most likely from Eastern Asia, and I can't tell you apart. I can't tell you from a Korean from a Thai person. I can't tell you apart from a Laotian or a Cambodian.
Yeah.
So you're just all Asian to me, and that's just, I think that's lazy, and nobody wants their identity to be marginalized or anything, just like we don't. So I feel like we should give the same courtesy, and that's one of the reasons why I was like, well, Filipinos have they've got this culture that's so unique, and I'm pretty sure the person down the street probably wouldn't be able to tell you where the Philippines is on the globe, on the map. So I was like, well, let me, educate some people with this long ass book about the plight of Filipino women and some other details as well.
It's called empathy, which is something we all need to have, because a lot of us are just ridiculously arrogant and ignorant and so self-absorbed that we miss out on a lot of great opportunities that come across our way.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Oh, dude, yeah, you're doing a lot.